we do have a preferred position with the city council. I think we're good to go, but the council is in fact getting very strict about these new developments because of the infrastructure problems that we're having.
But we're okay with that, correct? When I say,
Yeah.
okay.
We shouldn't be, that shouldn't be an issue for us.
Okay, Dorothy, Roger, what do you got? Any thoughts?
Let me just ask, is this the resolution that we signed, or is it a new resolution sent to me today?
This is a new resolution. This is a what would be called an inducement resolution that the PFC, the created PFC, would sign. It'd have to be read once the board comes back out into open, voted on, and certified by the PFC. Jim, is that correct?
Yes, sir. And
well, I just want to say this. I'm a little concerned that you sent me a new one just before the meeting started. I'm thinking it's the resolution that we approved at the board. So now I need to go and print that one off and read it because I don't have it because it just came.
Yeah, Dorothy, let me tell you, let me kind of see if I can address that. And the reason that you got there right before the meeting is that's when we got it, and it was just being worked through all the wordsmithing. That was just basically real time. And once this thing is up and running, we don't anticipate that to be the regular course of how things are communicated with the board. That will not be our expectation. That's how things are. We're going to make sure the board has plenty of time to review, digest, and come up with questions about these documents. But the moment that the terms of that new resolution were agreed to, we got that sent out to you. And that's unfortunately one of the speed bumps that you come up with when you're creating a new corporation, whether it's such as this PFC, a public nonprofit, or another corporation. But with that will not happen again.
And let me explain, if I can, real quickly, the difference between the two resolutions. At your Tarrant County Hospital District Board meeting, you passed a resolution authorizing the creation of the Public Facility Corporation. You filed with the Secretary of State the certificate of formation that you authorized. Now, at this board meeting, you're meeting for the first time as the actual Public Facility Corporation. And because they're separate legal entities, they have to take separate action. The resolution that you're considering today says that the Public Facility Corporation intends right now to participate in this transaction, and that NRP may go forward and submit applications to try and get the tax credits from the TDHCA. They may submit applications for financing. And the resolution is very, very specific, saying that it's non-binding. That once they submit all these applications and they get their financing together and they have a finished deal, then we will come back to you for actual approval of the project. And you are not committing to do this project even at this time. You will have the right to say, nope, sorry, don't like the financing, don't like something about this, at the next board meeting where we consider this. And so your actions today are literally an authorization to submit applications to go put this deal together and to bring it back to you for approval. You are not being asked to actually approve the deal today. And so it's a non-binding resolution simply to move the process forward.
I thank you for that explanation. I'm just not one of those that like to not read something before I do something. And I'll just say that even though we're rushing and we knew we were going to have this meeting, I mean, I think you could have delayed it a little bit later so I could have had a chance to read it. That's all I'll say about it. Okay.
Thanks, Dorothy.
Can you clarify something for me, please? I understand I'll use last names Browder and Early as being the assistant secretaries or whatever we voted on, what exactly are they going to sign? I understand the necessity for expediency and, you know, they're there in the building and sign the document. Are there any constraints to that? You know, does the executive board or does the board as a whole vote and say, hey, you can sign this, or do they have carte blanche to sign and we don't know what in the hell's going on?
By today's action, the only thing they're going to sign is the applicant eligibility certification. They may sign some non-binding applications for financing. I don't believe that they will sign a single binding document as a result of today's action. When we come back to you with a completed deal, there will be approximately 80 to 125 documents that will need to be signed. And at that point, you will specifically authorize those documents, and you will specifically authorize them to sign those documents. As an assistant secretary, they don't have inherent authority. And legally, they don't have inherent authority. And practically, I don't think these two gentlemen are going to ever do anything unless they believe the board's blessed it.
I don't want that authority. I don't want any part of that. This process thus far has been not only all-inclusive, it will always be all-inclusive. And then to Jim's comment, after we go through this process, this board is going to officially deny or move forward with going with this project, and then the Commissioners Court will go forward with this project. So at no time will there ever be the ability for said name Early Browder to do anything that the board would not previously approve of.
Yeah, that was my recollection as well.
That's one of the things that we wanted to make sure the board was very comfortable with back on the 11th, and that is this flexibility that the board has, because this is non-binding. The board's in control of this, and there's a lot of checks along the way. But this gives, again, an opportunity to do some pretty great things with some underutilized property that the board has, that the district has. But again, it's not binding the district, the board, or the PFC to anything. The PFC board remains very much in the driver's seat.
One thing I might add is, you know, to me, all of this is about this bureaucratic process to get an application filed. And I've told everybody, look, whenever the actual deal is in front of us, and I mean deal that shows the site plan, it shows the amenities, it shows the layout, it shows the parking, it shows everything in terms of quality of design standards. Whenever that document comes out, Dorothy, that ain't something we're gonna get today of it, I promise you. That's gonna take a lot of time for us to look at and be comfortable with. And that's always been my response to all this has been, look, I don't want anything going through on the actual deal until we've all had a chance to look at every single aspect of it. And to me, that's where the rubber meets the road. All we're doing right now is keeping the federal government and the state happy with, making sure we kill 10 billion trees to get to the point that we can actually ask a question. But when that question comes up, in my opinion, the board needs to read every page and have every single element of this thing explained in detail, because that, to me, that's what I call the contract between the district and NRP. And that is, here's what you're going to do. Here's when you're going to do it. Here's the steps you're going to take. And at that point in time, that's when I sort of feel that burden of responsibility to make absolutely sure this deal is as it's been described. Up to now, it's just, let's just go kill some more trees.
Yeah, and to Trent's point, this is when we do get to that juncture where the board will be asked to sign a whole lot of documents. We do have a great working relationship with NRP, and I think going through this process, NRP understands the strengths and weaknesses we have. Weaknesses in terms of having virtual. We're not meeting together like we were before March the 13th of last year. And we've got board members that have got lives, they've got other things going on. And the thing that will be helpful to us, and I know the NRP is going to be right there with us along in this regard, is getting us documentation that we need as soon as possible so we can disseminate it to the board members. You'll have a chance to review it thoroughly. You have a chance to come up with questions, and you have a chance to have those questions answered to your satisfaction.
Hey, Robert.
Yes.
This is Charlie. I asked Jason that question. It certainly wasn't meant to be negative. I heard words like bad boy, carve-outs, identifications. I want to go back to what I said on the 11th, and I mean this with Jim on the phone from the legal advice. I mean this with Daphne on the phone representing us. I've said this many times about Trent. Certainly the expertise that you and other people bring. We probably have as strong of a group than any other major person out there, and certainly the reputation of NRP. So again, Trent, I'm with you. I think I've been for this all along. I think we've got to keep the process. We didn't set the timelines, correct me. We didn't set these timelines. If we don't move forward, all the work that's been done since even before last March, and again, Robert, I know you, both Robert's been involved in this a long way. We need to move the process along. So again, I appreciate the answers, appreciate the comments. But again, I think we've got to get, and I agree with Dorothy, there's a lot of stuff out there to read, but right now we're just keeping the application, in my opinion, and Jim, you can correct me, it'll die on its face if we don't keep moving it along.
Yes.
Speaking from what Charlie is saying, some of these programs like this have a timeline when we've got to have certain things in. Have we got a time schedule for events and when they have to happen?
Yes, sir. And that's part of the challenge. And Dorothy, I totally understand your perspective. I think that our third-party friends are understanding what we need to provide to board members, and we understand that because we staff deal with it. So your frustration or your concern is well placed. I think part of the reason for the haste of this, and Jim, you or Jason, help me on this. I believe there was a this Friday deadline for submission. That's why this is going this way. So Zim, I think we're in a Friday deadline for this, and that's part of the challenge that we face, because those deadlines are established by the feds, if I'm not mistaken. Jason, is feds or state? I'm not sure. Okay.
Is that now the 8th?
It
I
is
believe
now.
so.
It is now moved to the 8th because of the snow.
Right.
And the good news is, as far as the state's concerned, most of the documents, and Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, about 95% of the documents that they need will be turned in this next week. I would say about 5% of the documents that are remaining in something called commitment notice. If we get the award, that doesn't occur till about October. And there may be a few documents that clarify in between, but not like the vast majority of the documents have already been created and are due, yes, this next week.
That's why I brought up that, because sometimes we've got time to kick and cuss and discuss. Sometimes we don't. And this is where I'm not sure that the concerns that we all probably have in this are something that would have to be answered by the time we make the submittal. Because certainly it's not an approved program yet and won't be till October. And so we've got time to go into the details, but we need to get that submittal in on time.
Right.
Anybody else have any questions, comments?
Okay, I had a chance to read it.
What's that? I couldn't hear you, Dorothy.
I printed it off and I had a chance to speed read it, okay?
Okay.
Man, that just shows how amazing you are.
Yeah, you're 50 steps ahead of me, I must say.
That's my Dorothy.
Yeah, way to go.
Well, then what will we need to do, Daphne, as far as we will need to, the last thing we need to do is approve this resolution when we come out?
Yeah, and I'm gonna ask Jim to remind me. So we'll come out of close and someone will walk through and make the motion to approve the resolution. Jim, does that already include authorizing our signers to go ahead and sign the certification and move forward with the application?
Yes, ma'am, it does. And if you like, we can give kind of a 3-sentence summary of what the resolution is, just so there's something on public record, and then entertain a motion.
Jim, could that 3-sentence summary be as simple as someone reading the bold part in the certificate for resolution? Or does it need to be anything more or less formal than that?
That is all we legally need. I would like to just note on the record that it is a resolution that does not bind you to proceed with this project. Just, I'd like that to be clear. And Robert, if you put the word non-binding resolution, put the word non-binding in front of that caption, you're fine.
Okay, and then Jim, on the certificate for resolution, is that something that either Robert or I can sign, or does that need to be signed by somebody else?
No, so you can sign that as an assistant secretary.
Got it, thank you. Any other questions?
Robert, you will insert the non-binding piece that Jim just mentioned?
Yes.
Thank you.
Trent, you okay with, say, making the motion and reading what needs to be done?
Is there 2 separate motions, one on the bylaws and then one for the non-binding inducement resolution?
No, sir, we've already adopted the bylaws.
Yeah, you already adopted the bylaws.
We got everything ready except for the inducement resolution.
Right, yeah, we're just on item C.
Okay, yeah, I can do that, Chuck.
Okay.
So we'll come back out into open, and motion will be made with the language non-binding in front of what's written on the certificate, and we'll go from there.
Okay. So Dorothy or Roger, would you second it? If you would,
Yeah,
please.
I'll second it. I've read it now.
Okay. Is there anything else we need to do in executive
General
session?
counsel okay with that discussion?
Jim, does that conclude, Jim, is there anything else that they need to do, or just make that motion, get it approved? Does that wrap up their business for this organizational meeting?
It does.
Thank you.
Is that
Okay,
it?
so Robert and Chuck, are you guys ready to go into open
Daphne,
session?
you ready for us to come out of, you said closed
Yes.
session?
Yes,
Yeah,
no more
David,
discussion.
please. Just let
All
me
right, give us about 5 seconds. Okay, Dr. Weber, you're back in live. Go ahead.
We're reconvening in open session to conduct one last piece of business, and that is the certificate for resolution of the organization. And I would entertain a motion
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion
going
that,
ahead with that entity.
yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that the Public Finance Corporation adopt the non-binding resolution inducing the Magnolia Lofts Apartments in partnership with NRP and Wynn Jackson to be located on a tract of land located at 300 East Magnolia Avenue, Fort Worth, Texas, and authorizing negotiation and execution of a term sheet and other matters in connection therewith.
Thank you. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Anybody, any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Oh. Passes unanimously. Is that the only business that we have to conduct now, Daphne?
I believe that concludes your agenda. Robert Browder, did you have anything else?
That's it. Thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
We thought for you committee members, we would just have one more committee after this. We don't even know what the name of it is, but we thought
I've
we'd
got a
have
name
y'all
for it.
just for another one. No, don't say the name.
Have another meeting at 3:00.
Yeah, don't say that.
Have a
All right.
name for
It's,
it.
the other meeting is Robert Early Pies.
David
Remember,
reserved the
you don't put a
website to
bridle
6, so we
on
got
the
a few
bull.
more hours, okay?
That's right. That's right. Y'all be good.
All right.
And we're
Bye-bye.
adjourned. Thank you.